In order to get the most you possibly can out of the day and structure your day most efficiently, it starts with planning in the morning before you even take action. Now, in coaching CEOs, entrepreneurs, and real estate agents from around the country, one of the biggest areas of opportunity is how they structure their day and specifically their morning schedule. Now, when we get into scheduling with the CEOs and entrepreneurs, typically they tell me that they do follow a schedule, and it's a schedule that's in their phone, and it really reminds them of the hour by hour appointments and meetings that they have on a regular basis. But how many times have you gotten thrown off in the middle of the day because something new jumps on your calendar or something else takes priority? So in this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I map my day out with 3 key areas, which are the non-negotiable meetings, means can't move them, these are rock solid in my calendar, the action items that need to be taken on a daily basis in relation to those meetings, and then the other category is the acknowledgements or the people that need to hear something from me or I need something from, but it really can happen at any point in the day. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys on the whiteboard today exactly what I do to map out my day, but I typically live and die by the legal pad. So what I'm sharing with you guys on the whiteboard is exactly what I put on my legal pad every single day. So let's get into it. First thing that I do before I even build out my morning schedule for the day is I do what we call acknowledgements. So you'll see the category acknowledgements on the bottom right-hand side of the page. And the reason that it's at the bottom is because in my mind, I know that if it's at the bottom right side of the page, it's not the most important thing in the moment. It's something that I need to get to at any point in the day when I can. Let me share with you what I do to go through my acknowledgements. Number 1, what I'm doing is I'm scanning my phone for text messages, missed calls, or voicemails that happened from the moment that I left the office yesterday to when I got into the office the next day. So that's gonna be voicemails, text messages, and calls. I'm going through that list and I'm asking myself, who is asking of something from me that I need to get to them? What can I hate to say blow off, but what can I defer to a later time? And what needs the most immediate action? Now, depending on how I answer those things, I might actually reach out to the person and say, hey, got your message, I'll respond after 1 o'clock today. Hey, got your voicemail, I'll give you a call at 3 o'clock today. So I'm first doing the acknowledgements of what has hit my phone from the time I left the office yesterday to the time I walked into the office today. So that's just for my text messages and my phone calls. Next, I do the same exact thing with my Facebook DMs and my Instagram DMs. So that would be FB DM, IG DM. And then I save the big one for last, and the last thing I do on acknowledgements is I scan my inbox, okay? So I'm gonna be going to my email after I've mapped out the acknowledgements there. Now, if you're like me, you probably have, 15, 20, 25 emails that came in overnight, maybe more than that, maybe less than that require action of some sort. Couple things I'm doing here. If it is a 5-minute or less response that it would be removed from my plate if I handled it, I will do it then. If it's something that requires more from me, if it requires an action, a document, more thought than what I have in that given morning, I'm going to plan it over here and move it to action items. So for instance, we're in the middle of planning our annual coaches retreat, and one of the items that came through in my inbox was firming up the coaches retreat agenda. So rather than doing it first thing in the morning, just because it's on the email, is I'm going to be putting it on the action items today, and it's gonna say coaches retreat agenda. If you wanted to take this a step further, you could ask yourself how much time you think you need for that. And for this particular instance, I needed about 30 minutes. Now I scan my inbox and I also see that we have a couple clients that need to be placed. So rather than doing it first thing in the morning, what I'm going to be putting down under my action items is place client, and I'm going to list the names of the clients that I need to place, and so on and so forth. So when I go through my email in the morning, anything that needs to be addressed in that day, I'm gonna go ahead and put up here. Now, as you can imagine, your inbox is gonna continue to fill up, and it's my job to manage my day and really understand what I can get done in a given day and what I might need to buy more time on or defer for tomorrow. Now, there's also the instance where occasionally something's gonna come into my inbox that actually needs immediate attention, meaning I can't roll it over to tomorrow, and also it should probably take precedence over one of these things. If that's the case, I'm answering the question in my mind of what is the consequence of me pushing this off? Now, if the consequence of me pushing this off is it holds somebody else back from doing their job, meaning a department is waiting on a deliverable from me and they can't take action until I send them this. I'm not pushing it off because it's not fair to the team, and honestly, it holds up the entire process. If it's something like placing a client where we really have set the expectations that by the time we get the needs analysis back, we have anywhere from 48 to 72 hours to place, I know that I could probably push that over to the next day without there being a relationship consequence with that client. So this is where you have to have a flexible mindset as your day continues to evolve, and ask yourself, what is the most urgent, most important thing under the action items right now? Now again, if you're like me, you're in meetings and you're checking, you might check your phone and you have a text message or a missed call or somebody sent you a DM that needs your attention. As that happens, I'm going to be putting it over here. Respond to ... Now, not everything needs to be a planned out response, but depends on the line of work you're in. There might be a sales opportunity in there that you don't want to miss. There might be a client concern in there that you want to make sure you take the time to respond to. And so rather than just deferring it off to the next day, you're going to be putting at some point in the day, you need to respond to those items. That's the first half of my prep for the day. Is I take inventory for anybody or anything that's waiting to hear something from me or waiting for a deliverable from me. And I make a note of it, and I know exactly who's waiting for what, and I write down what that is. Next, I move over to the left-hand side of my page, which is going to be the left-hand column here, and I actually map out my most important meetings of the day. For me, I meet with my consulting clients, my coaching clients every 30 minutes. And so for me, I start my coaching calls anywhere from 8:30 to 9, and it's typically going to look like call 1, call 2, call 3, I might have 30-minute break there, call 4, okay? So here's how this looks. I'm going from call 1 to call 2. I go from call 2 to call 3. I see that I have a 30 or 45-minute gap, so I'm going over here and I'm finding which of these action items I can plug into here. I take a look and I say, well, I've got 45 minutes. I have 3 clients to place, 10 to 15 minutes to review per client. I can do my client placement in that time block. Now I go to call 4, call 5, and let's say that by 1 o'clock, I'm done with my most important meetings of the day. I've still got half the day. So now that I've done the heavy lifting of my day, I've met with my clients, I've delivered the value that I need to deliver to them, then I get to pick up what I consider the more mentally labor-intensive jobs. Now, what this means for me right now, for where we're at as a company, is this is where I get to plug in Coaches Retreat agenda. This is where I get to plug in creating content for the Coaches Retreat or for YouTube or for any other content that I'm building, right? So I've already taken care of my priorities. I've responded to acknowledgements either in between calls or if there's a break in the calls. And then I save the items that need the most amount of brain power but are not required to get done by the end of the day. I save them for after my most important meetings. Occasionally, you're gonna find that trying to make progress on your business in 30-minute open chunks or 45-minute open chunks is kind of impossible. If you get into a good rhythm, such as I am with placing clients, it's kind of like clockwork, right? Like I know how to review the needs analysis, I know who I'm gonna place them with, and that's really plug and play. But for the creative work, right? Like for creating an event or creating content or writing a keynote, I can't guarantee that I'm gonna be able to crank out a keynote talk in 45 minutes or less. And so what we typically recommend is that it's either once a week or once every other week, you have a blank calendar day that is just for projects. I'm pretty strict about this. So my project days are usually Thursdays, sometimes Fridays, but on Thursdays, I don't take coaching calls. I don't do meetings in the business. I simply work on the business. And usually I'll go, off-site somewhere. I might go to a coffee shop. I'm not in my regular routine. Put my headphones on, drink some coffee, and I know that that's my day, that I'm getting through the list of items that I haven't gotten done here. But specifically, these are items that might require more than 30 or 45 minutes to get to. So mapping out your day with acknowledgements, understanding who needs to hear from you, what they need to hear from you about, and what the priority is. Action items, which is what are the deliverables from here or from here, and then what are the non-negotiable meetings that you've committed to, and based on your meeting load for that day, what is realistic to get done in your action items. Now, I want to pause for a second. You might be thinking, Kate, I need a whole page for action items and I have so many meetings, where am I gonna fit things in? If that's the case, if that's true, what that's telling us is we actually are getting close to, if not we might already be there, that you might need an executive assistant. Now, if you're a high performing CEO entrepreneur, chances are you probably already have some sort of leverage or an executive assistant. And in that case, what's happening is you're the one in the meetings here, your executive assistant is the one that's handling these categories over here. So now your communication is directly with the executive assistant. You're telling them what action items are coming from here, she or he is adding it there. What action items are coming from here, she or he is handling it there. So the EA is then taking on these as the roles and the responsibilities. Now, in a later video, we're gonna go over how to know if it's time to hire an EA and how to map out that role. But a really good rule of thumb that I want you to think about is if you're missing meetings here, or you're not able to take advantage of meetings here because you're still bogged down with this, you're missing money-making opportunities, and it's time to hire help to do the lower income producing activities. Guys, I'm gonna put a pin in it for today. This is how I map out every single day. I even map out my weeks this way on what I need to get done by the end of the week. And this is how I stay on track every single day. So I follow this. I check my action items before I leave. I make sure my acknowledgements are taken care of. That way, when I'm done for the day, I get to turn my phone over and spend guilt-free quality time with my family. Drop a comment below on what was most helpful here. Make sure you subscribe to my channel to find out how to get more productive and more out of every action you take in your day.